Hi everyone. So today I'm going to be doing 2 book reviews. I've finished the second book of, I think it's like the Dandelion Dynasty or something is like the full series, but it's the second book to that. The first one's Grace of Kings, and then the second one is Wall of Storms. So I did finish the second book. And then also I finished my reread of The Justice of Kings. So I'm going to be covering both these books. I'll do Justice of Kings first. I just finished it recently, and my rating would probably give it more of a 4 out of 5 stars. This one's really hard for me to rate, even the first time I read it. I've seen so many amazing reviews. People are raving about it all the time. I even read it with a friend. He loved it. I don't know why I don't connect as much with this book as most people are connecting with it. I did enjoy it. I really did. I just don't know how to describe my relationship with this book. I don't know if you've seen like on social media or anything like that, where sometimes people will post of like it'll show like the whole fantasy scene, and then all of a sudden it'll show just the words on the page, and it's like when reading becomes words on the page, and like for some reason you just have that disconnect from imagining it. And I kept having that with this book. It almost felt like I had to keep forcing myself back into the story and back into the world. I don't know why that is. It's not like the writing's bad. It's not like the story's not interesting. I just don't know why I had such a hard time connecting to it. Some of it might be the plot for me, because there's almost like this more narrow plot, and then there's this bigger issue going on in the story, and sometimes it would kind of flip between those two, and the focus would change for the characters on that plot point throughout the book. And I think maybe that dichotomy of those plot lines sometimes took me out of the story, just because I just wanted to focus on one thing. I don't know what it is. This is my second read through, and I still have pretty much the same opinion as the first time I read it, where it's like, it's good. It really is. I enjoyed it. I would recommend it. But there's just something about it that is not getting that, like, wow factor with me. I wouldn't put it up there with my top favorites or anything like that, but it's good. I would recommend it. And it's interesting. It's a different type of story. I don't know what it is. But now that I gave that ambiguous kind of start, I'll go a little bit about what it's about. So it's following, you have 3 main characters. You have the Justice in the story, which is Von Volt, and then Helena and Bressinger. Hope I'm saying them all right, but it seems simple when I'm reading it, but saying it out loud, it never comes out the way I plan. So the story is told from the point of view of Helena, and it's told in a way that the older version of her is looking back and telling the story. And I always like that point of view. I enjoy when books do that. The Covenant of Steel series with the Pariah book and everything like that has that same kind of style, and I enjoy it. I like that kind of look back. So every once in a while, you get Helena kind of giving a little bit of a added commentary to certain things. Like they'll have something happen, seems like no big deal, and then she'll write, we should have paid more attention to this, or something, or this became a problem later, or I wish this was the end of it. So you get some of her tidbits there. And I like that. It makes it interesting. And plus then you know that she survived. So that's always a plus, is when you know your main character is making it through the end. But yeah, the 3 characters are traveling throughout the land, so the Empire essentially. And the Justice is essentially a traveling justice. And the main thing is that he's kind of all-encompassing of executing the law, essentially. He goes to these towns and he enforces the law. He'll hear petitions, and he can also do the sentencing as well. He's kind of the voice of the emperor, I guess you could say. But so he has a lot of power, and he pretty much can trump anybody, essentially. And it's interesting to see how sometimes he can do things right, but also maybe make some questionable choices. And so it's a little interesting, because you do have that that risk of an abuse of power going on. So Von Vahl isn't necessarily all good. It's not necessarily bad. He's kind of a morally gray character at times, especially towards the end. So that makes it kind of interesting, and I'm curious to see what that will do in the later books. But yes, so they're traveling. They go to this one village, and this would be the first one that they hit, and they actually have an additional companion with them. And this additional companion with them is kind of this zealot priest person, and his name's Claver. He seems really annoying, but he's actually going to probably be one of the main, I guess you could say, kind of villains in the story. And he's definitely going to be more of a character that you're probably going to see in later books, because he's kind of part of that. As I mentioned, there's those two plot lines. There's like that bigger overall picture, and he's a part of that issue. And so that's kind of the one hanging over the head of everyone. And then you have this minor one. So after they hit that first village, they leave, and Claver separates from them, and then when they go to this other village, they realize that there was this murder that occurred. And so this second kind of more narrow plot point is they're trying to solve this murder situation going on. And that's actually, I thought it was a fun, interesting storyline. I liked, when they did like interviews of people, they're investigating evidence and everything like that. They're trying to figure out this kind of criminal underground ring thing going on. So that was interesting. I did like that. And so probably around halfway through the end of the book, I was more interested. I really was. And I feel like it got better. It's just that beginning, I really had a hard time connecting to it. But yeah, so you kind of have those two storylines going on. The bigger overall picture, you can definitely tell that's probably going to be more saved for books 2 and 3, but I don't know yet because I haven't read them yet. I have started book 2. I am enjoying it more, I think, because I am familiar with the characters now and the story and what's going on, and things are starting to build up too. So I am enjoying that more, and so I'm curious to see if I will feel better about this series instead of how I feel right now with book 1. I would still recommend it. I would, because I feel like my point of view of this is probably more of a minor one. I'm probably more in the minority of this, because I feel like most of the reviews I'm seeing are people that just absolutely adore this and love it. They're obsessed. I didn't get that, but I know a lot of people are. So you can try it yourself and see. And I don't know. I mean, if anyone else felt the same way about this book, I'd be happy to know I'm not crazy. But I do understand that probably most people probably don't feel that way. But I enjoyed it. I did. There's just something that's just missing for me. I don't know what it is, but there's just something there. But yeah, so I did just finish that one recently. And going into my second review is Wall of Storms. This one is probably more of a 4.5 out of 5. I couldn't give it a 5.5 because of that ending. Wow. I was not happy with the ending. But that's okay. Sometimes I don't mind if the ending doesn't make me happy, because then I remember it. But this one killed me. Because, I don't know. It didn't end on a positive note. And a lot of the characters are so frustratingly evil. It was making me so mad. So yeah, that's kind of the problem. How to compare this to Grace of Kings? I don't know. They feel like completely two different stories. Not in the bad sense, in a good sense, but the focus on each story is so different. The writing style is still the same. You still have kind of that omnipresent kind of point of view going on. You do have the switch of the point of views frequently. You get both sides of everything. You get to see the overall picture of everything going on. So that's all still the same. But the focus of the books are very different. The focus on book 1 was mainly the battles, the fight for overthrowing the emperor, but then also who's going to be in charge next, what's going to be the setup of the world, whether they're doing more of the city-states or they're keeping it more of an empire. But the main focus was all these battles going on. And this book 2, the focus is mainly on the establishment of that empire and also towards the end you have a conflict of outsiders coming in. And so those are kind of more of the issues going on. Now, if you haven't read book 1, I'll probably kind of go into some spoilers for book 1 because I kind of need to say what happened in book 1 to lead into book 2. So just as a warning, if you haven't read book 1, you're probably going to get some spoilers for book 1. But I did want to just say, because before we finish up there, I just wanted to kind of say that it is still really good. If you haven't tried the series yet, give it a try because I am enjoying it. I really am. It's a very rich world, like very imaginative. There's a lot going on. There's so many characters. The battles are well written. I can't tell if I like book 1 or book 2 better. I probably like book 1 better because I liked the characters better in book 1 and I liked the battles going on. And I felt more like the right thing happened. So I liked probably book 1 better. But book 2 was still really good. I still really enjoyed it, but it's a completely different kind of issue going on. So I do recommend giving the series a try because it is really good. I have started book 3, but I'm not very far, so I can't really give a full opinion on that one yet. But it'll be interesting to see because where each one has been so different, I'm curious to see what book 3 is going to be like. So now I'm going to probably get into some spoilers for book 1. So just giving you that heads up. So book 1 ends with Cooney prevailing. So book 2 is starting off with Cooney's children, and they're older now. And so the main kind of background battle going on, I clap there, main background going on is who's going to essentially be named his heir. Because he has 4 children, and there's 2 boys, and they're from, the 2 different mothers there. And so you kind of have Jaya, who is very cunning and very conniving and wants her son to be named the heir. But she knows that the other son from Rosanna is more like Cooney and is probably more favored. And Rosanna I like her. She doesn't want to cause any problems. She's just like, I'm happy with whatever happens. But Jaya sees the worst in everyone, and she thinks the worst of everyone, and so she doesn't believe that. And so she does a lot of evil things, a lot of evil things. She is literally the worst. Yeah, I never liked her in this book. I think they try to redeem her a little bit in the book. And then, so it's like, okay, she's a really crappy person. They try to redeem her a little bit, and then she goes back down again. So, I don't know. She's terrible. Like I said, there's a lot of terrible characters in this book. Like they do a lot of terrible things. So that's kind of a little bit one of the storylines going on. The other one is we have a new character, Zami, and she grew up in more of like kind of a peasant type setting. She wasn't given access to any type of formal education, anything like that. Well, she gets picked up and has a mentor who is Luan, and he was the one from the first book that kind of acted a little bit as an advisor to Cooney, and I like him. You get to know more about him in this book, and he's a great character. And so you kind of have that scholarly kind of storyline going on as well, and that's a very interesting storyline happening. And it's very important, and Zami becomes a very important character. So that you have that, and then towards the end, you get an additional, well, not really towards the end, probably like maybe 3/4, halfway-ish. You kind of have this an additional storyline of this, so there's this wall of storms, like the book name, that's kind of separating all the islands of, I don't know if the whole world's like, I don't know what all of it's called together, but the whole world here. It's like, I keep wanting to say Islands of Dara, but I don't know if that's it. But anyways, you have that whole empire area going on. Well, then there's apparently there's like this huge wall of like storms, essentially. I don't know how else to describe it other than what it is. That prevent anyone from crossing over into this other area, across the sea. But there's something over on the other side. And there's another group of people on the other side. Well, contact gets reached to them. And they now want to take over the Islands of Dara. I'm just going to call it that. But they take over that. Oh, they don't take it over. They want to take it over. So they invade. And so you have this issue of this invasion going on. And the people they're called the Lysu people. They're extremely brutal. They are absolutely terrible. They're crafty. They're also cunning, and they are just brutal. I mean, they have no qualms about, like, they don't have any essentially really value attached to life, I guess you could say. I mean, even for their own people, death is just such a big part of their culture that they don't care. So yeah, it's an interesting change in the story, but it gets pretty dark at times. And it also, before they come over, it talks a little bit about their setup and their land. It's also brutal. So that's just kind of what they know. But yeah, so that story didn't get resolved. So I anticipate that's going to be a lot of book 3. And so I'm curious to see what happens, because I'm not happy with how things have turned out. I don't want to get into any spoilers. So I'm just kind of giving a little bit of some samples of the storylines going on. But yeah, so you kind of have a lot of those mixes of things going on. You have, the new empire that's trying to stay running, that's trying to keep the peace. I mean, obviously there's still a lot of tensions going on, because this is a new kind of rule happening. And then now you have this invasion force. And then you have this empress of Jaya, I don't know, but who just wants to cause chaos inside the empire. So, I mean, there's just a lot of things happening and going on. So like I mentioned earlier, this is a completely different kind of story from book 1. Whereas book 1, it's very clear. They want to get rid of the emperor. They want to set up a new regime. And you just have Mana and Cooney that are kind of just going at it. Whereas with this one, you have a lot of outside forces and inside forces going on. And it was very interesting. I liked it. I did. Just didn't like the ending. But yeah, so I am enjoying this. I have enjoyed it. I'm just sad by the ending. I really am. And I'm sad by now some of the characters who aren't going to be in book 3. There was a lot of characters that died. I'm not going to spoil any of them, but I'm just sad. So I feel like all the good ones are gone now. So that kind of makes it bittersweet for me, but maybe I can reread book 1 and be happy with them. I don't know, but it was still really good. But yeah, so those are the 2 most recent books that I finished. The year is almost over, so I don't know how many other books I can get done before the end of the year, but I am reading book 2 of The Justice of Kings. I have started book 3 of the Dandelion Dynasty, and I'm also reading a classic on the side. I'm reading The Count of Monte Cristo. Great book. It doesn't even feel like a classic. It's written very well. I'm enjoying that. So I'm probably only like 350 pages in or something. So I'm not close to finishing that. I'm not going to finish that by the end of the year. I'm just kind of reading that on the side, but I am really enjoying it. I don't know if I'll pick up another book on the side. Sometimes I like to read 2 or 3 books at a time, but I am also reading the Wheel of Time book. I'm on Gathering Storm, so I am still continuing that as well. I just don't anticipate I'll get anything probably real finished before the end of the year, except maybe book 2 of this, and then maybe I'll do a review too. So, but yeah, so I hope you maybe want to check these books out, or I got you excited for them. But thank you for watching.